So you've installed Nasomi and you've reshaded it and you've got all those beautiful textures, you've created your character and you're ready to get started. So let's go ahead and jump in with some basic information for the new Nasomi player. Now, one of the first things that you're going to be met with after creating your character is which nation to choose. Are you going to go Bastok, Sandoria, maybe Winders? Are you going to go hang out with the Tarus? And that choice is entirely up to you. Now, as far as Nasomi is concerned, it is weighted equally in a way that regardless of the populace that chooses your particular nation, you're going to have a fair shake at competing with any events that require nation involvement. On top of that, one thing to consider is that depending on the race that you choose, you will get a ring for the starting city that does have stats on it that should generally complement the races that would be from those cities. So if you start in Sandoria, you're going to get a ring on an Elven. If you start over in Winders, you're going to get a ring for Mithras and Tarus, and in Bastok, you'll get a ring on Hume and on your Galkas. The home point in Final Fantasy XI is a very important and iconic piece of content. Now, what a home point does in Final Fantasy XI is it allows you to set a place where you can return home through various means, usually warp spells, warp scrolls, things like that. And it's very important that you are aware of where your home point is, because you can use it as a method of transportation, but it's also where you're going to return if you die. So be sure to save your home points nearest where you're going to be exploring, so that way you have easy access to get back just in case something bad happens. Now, once you have picked your city and you've set your home point and you're ready to get adventuring, there is a little bit of prep that I suggest that you do in order to prepare yourself for the adventures ahead of you. And the first thing is always take a look in your hometown, do some research on the wikis. You should look for quests that are repeatable, quests that are going to give you rewards based on turn-ins that you're going to get from mobs that you kill while you're leveling. After you've done the research on those quests and you've determined what types of enemies that you need to kill, the thing that you should do next is get Signet. Signet is very important. This is something that you can get from the gate guard as you go to exit your town into a leveling area. And what Signet does is Signet gives you the ability to collect crystals while you're killing enemies, beastmen, seals. It will also contribute to your conquest in that particular zone that you are fighting in. And you can also use those conquest points garnered from that system to purchase items that you can either A, use, or B, sell on the auction house at a later time. And it's a good way to, again, help with that money at the lower part of the game. So now we're outside, we're ready to go, we're ready to get killing and getting some of those sweet, sweet levels and that sweet, sweet XP and just go up in our levels, right? Well, many of you who are playing or watching this right now might come from an MMORPG background that is a little bit different in a modern landscape than it was previously. And those of you who are watching this who are just returning players will know what I'm talking about when I move on to this next part. Now, when you're fighting enemies, there are different things that you're going to have to take into account when you're fighting them. And it's going to be things like their elemental weaknesses, their weaknesses to slash and piercing and things like that. But you're also going to have to take into account how much HP they have and how hard they're going to hit you. So one of the things that we can do to determine some of those factors is we can con them. So when we con the enemies, they're going to have different ranges of difficulty, and we'll cover some of the ones that you're typically going to see in areas that you're going to be leveling in initially. Now, when you first get out there at level 1 and you con a mob or you check a mob, as it would be in Final Fantasy, when you check them, they're going to come back as even match because you are level 1 and they are level 1. And as you out-level these enemies, they're going to go down in difficulty, they're going to become a decent challenge, and then they're eventually going to become an easy prey and then not worthwhile. Now, you may come across some enemies that are no longer even matched, but they are tough or very tough, and obviously an enemy like that is going to have some sort of ability to essentially kill you. It's going to be very difficult to kill them. So one of the things we recommend is check these enemies when you go out to fight them. Fight enemies that are decent challenge and below. Obviously, it's not something you can do at level 1, and you will get the experience chains, which something will be covered in another video, but you'll get experience chains for those first initial levels. But then once you start just killing decent challenges and below, you're going to be able to level very quickly, very efficiently. You're going to farm a lot of those materials that you need for those repeatable quests, and then and you're going to have very little downtime. It's very efficient. So it's something that I definitely recommend doing is, again, check those enemies, make sure that they are decent challenge and not very difficult, that you're able to farm that XP fairly quickly with minimal impact on downtime. In the event that you do come up against an even match, or something tougher than that, make sure that if you are low on health that you sit down and you heal and rest. And that's another thing I want to talk about is in the event that you're out and you're fighting things in the initial levels and you're not getting those levels fast enough to heal you before you're low health, be sure to take a moment and use the heal ability in Final Fantasy XI. And what that does is essentially it lets you take a knee and you will regenerate HP and MP based on certain ticks that increases the amount that you gain per tick as you're sitting. So that's as simple as using the heal command to kneel down and regen your health pool. Another very unique thing about Final Fantasy XI when it comes to combat is the weapon skill system. Now, I'm going to make a dedicated video on the weapon skill system. Just know that as you level up your skills, your combat skills, while you're out doing your questing or you're out doing your farming, that you will go up and level in those skills and you will acquire something called a weapon skill, which is essentially an ability that you can use by accruing tech points or TP in the world of Final Fantasy XI, and you can execute those skills, and if you execute them with other players in the appropriate order, you can perform skill chains. But that will be something we will cover entirely in another video. So you've been out and you've been grinding and you've got all these rabbit hides or beehive chips and things like that, and you've got level 10. You've worked your way through the zone, you've stuck to decent challenges or lower, and it's taken you a little while to get your level, but you've got level 10 and you're ready to go to Dunes. Well, one thing that I would recommend is take it back a minute and think about your position on things. So you've got certain skills that are leveled up, you've got other skills that aren't leveled up. Maybe you don't necessarily like the playstyle of this class. So one thing that I would recommend doing is going and trying out other jobs. Now, in order to change your job, what you'll need to do is you'll need to travel into your city and head over to the Mog House. Once you enter the Mog House, you simply pull up your main menu and you select the Mog House option from the menu and scroll down to Change Job. And then you can select from a number of basic jobs that you can try. And what I personally did is I leveled every single basic job up to level 10 for two reasons. A, to have sub-jobs already pre-leveled to level 10 so that once I hit a certain level range, I could switch over to a potential sub-job and go out and start getting levels on it in groups out in Valkyrie Dunes. And two is to go and farm more items that you can sell, crystals that you can sell, items that you can exchange for quests, and that's important because you're not just getting money for those quests, but you're also getting reputation. So I would definitely recommend checking out these other jobs. And it's something that you can apply the other principles that we've already discussed. Keep that signet up, work on your combat, and most of all, make sure you're having fun. Go out there and have yourself a good time, try out those jobs, and really just give it a moment to enjoy those different jobs before heading out to the Dunes. And that's pretty much it when it comes to a starting guide for Final Fantasy Nasomi. If you follow those tips to a T, that's enough to get you started and really get into the game. And we are going to start rolling out some short videos that are very concise on specific subjects going forward that are going to cover a lot more of this material in depth and individually rather than putting them into a bulk guide. So be sure to practice some of these things that we have mentioned. Check out the Nasomi 10 tips video if you haven't already. That's got a bunch of good information in it that will help you with your adventures. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell notification icon. It'll notify you when we put up some of these new guides, as well as when we go live on Mondays and potentially the weekends as well. If you liked the video, be sure to hit that like button. If you didn't, go ahead and hit that button too. But either way, let us know what you think about our videos in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. It helps us get some ideas to make future content for you guys, and is one of the reasons why I'm making this guide. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.